Hi, this is Chris Robinson from the Scouting Game. Our guest today, Marcia Lewis from No.1 Fan Club.
Hello.
So, absolutely great to have you here. So, we've been on a number of podcasts at the same time, or one after the other, and I did a podcast, one of yours as well. So, we've been in connection for quite a while. So, tell us about No.1 Fan Club.
Oh, wow. Well, initiative that's come out of experience.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a son who's playing football, and went right from pre-academy up to young professional at Arsenal, youth international, and just like all the stuff that goes on in between as a parent has been, it's been fantastic, but also challenging to juggle at times.
Yeah.
So No.1 Fan really was inspired by Miles's journey in creating something where a community of parents can get together and start sharing stories and exploring, but also being able to leverage the experience of experts like yourself, Chris, around the journey of youth football and all that entails.
So it's not just the parents whose kids are in the academy system, though, is it? It's those who sort of really very much involved in football.
Yeah,
is that right?
Absolutely, from grassroots, because when you're in grassroots, as you know, scouting's a really big topic.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know how to get scouted, but also it's like, well, what can you expect? When you're in the system and you do sort of go from one to the other, but also if you're staying in grassroots, you don't have access to some of the wealth of resources that academies do. So whether it's child psychologists or whether it's someone, nutrition advice or specialist coaches in other areas. So it brings together advice and guidance from professionals in the industry supporting a grassroots level.
Yeah. We found when we started doing our social media stuff in the Scouting Game that we got loads of parents asking us questions, and what became clear, which is why we started the business really, to do the player assessments, is there wasn't anywhere else. So when you were on your journey in the earlier stages with Miles, where did you get that information from? Of how does this work? What should we do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Look, there's no one in my family that was into football. Like, I didn't even know what the Premier League was. I've got 4 sisters. My dad was a cricketer, so there was no football played. And Miles was the only, my only son, my only child. So I didn't really know much at all. And so it's like you didn't know what you don't know. I didn't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Later on in the journey, like 14, 15, 16, I began to network and be connected with people that had already gone through the experiences. Right. So, and then learning and researching and going to networking events and meeting people, in sport. Yeah. Met some great sport lawyers and agents, all sorts of, people in branding. Yeah. And then I started to realize, wow, this is, there's a lot to this. I went a little bit, further. I did a master's in football business because that gave me some understanding of why football is so obsessive, and from a business perspective as well. So it's a lot of different facets, but certainly to me, where the greatest value is being a part of a community, learning from other people that have been through it, and take from that what you've.
Absolutely. Now I've seen your new website in a prototype form, and the breadth of information that's on there is terrific. It's everything a parent whose kid is involved in football, boys or girls, could want to know. Its information is on there and connections on there. So do you see that now as sort of the main resource that you would drive your organisation forward and your service for parents forward through the website?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like the central one-stop hub for everything, whether it's to chat and have, community connecting, whether it's attending our workshops, which we have, events. We had a really amazing event not so long ago where we had panels of industry experts, panels of parents. And so, it's like, you can get anything really in different formats, because we also appreciate that, people's backgrounds are different, so your appetite for learning is different. Some people like videos, some people like articles. So there's a real mix of stuff. We want it to be positive, engaging, and interesting.
Yeah, there's a massive information on there. It's terrific, and I think that the general issue of of parents wanting to go on a journey, or feeling that their kids want to go on a journey and not knowing where they're navigating is a key. We're getting questions all the time of people saying, what happens if you go on a trial? What will, if a scout finds the kid, what happens next? Or they'll be saying, I'm at this academy and I'm not happy, what do I do? Or, you know, I've just been released, the kid's just been released from an academy and is you know, disappointed, doesn't want to play football again. What can I, you know, what's the next step and stage? So there's so many different aspects of the kid's life and the family's life that can be affected by football, or might be affected by football, that those of us who are in the game, we sort of take it for granted. You know, I've been 30 years in the game, and so this is just the water that I swim in, you know.
Yeah.
But we take it for as a given that, well, yeah, it's an 8-week trial. Of course it's an 8-week trial.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's an 8-week trial, don't they? No, they don't. What are you talking about? So that check is really important. I think that those resources are there. You sometimes learn, don't you, from other parents, certainly.
Yeah.
You know, on the touchline,
Yeah.
classic thing. But then they might not know that much either, you know, because they might be new, or their experience might just be one club.
Yeah.
And so when you start talking as well, and I know that you've been through this process as well with Miles, that when you get to the age where agents are getting interested, we get parents say to us, what do we do? You know, how do we, when should we get an agent? And so that's a whole world in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's topics like that where there are so many different schools of thought, which if you open yourself up to hear the wisdom, experience, and, you know, stories from other people, you can use that as a kind of a basis. And actually, that doesn't sound like the sort of thing I want to do, but that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. So it does give you just nuggets of direction of where you might want to go, and ultimately you're making, you know, own decisions. But I think what the platform really does is that it opens up a breadth of perspectives. Yeah. Which and most of it's video, so you know, if you're talking trash, you're going to be seen, right? Which is good, because all transparent. I think there's a lot of, you know, football, there's a lack of transparency in ways, and this is a way for people in the profession as well as parents to just be transparent with their, you know, with their wisdom, with their guidance, you know, with their knowledge. I've found, as you know, that some clubs, and I've got to say it is mostly the bigger clubs, get very almost paranoid about information. They're very secretive. They think that their way of doing things, they're the only organisation that do it that way. Whereas, again, from my experience, most clubs are dealing with the same things, with the same issues with the kids and with parents. And yet there is this sort of cloak and dagger element, you know, where everything's sort of on the quiet, you know, this is how we do a contract, or this is when a contract is up. And it's like, who's gaining from that? Absolutely. And I think the challenge with situations like that is that when parents are not aware or don't know it, that creates the anxiety and the stress, and then you start making up things in your head. So if the industry could just be more open, then everyone knows what they're dealing with. Yeah, so, absolutely. You know, I think it's a win-win if we can, you know, provide more resources and guidance for parents. Then the establishments, institutions will have better informed parents, better conversations, better relationships ultimately. And how are the clubs and the academies reacting to No.1 Fan Club? Yeah, I think, you know, baby steps, you know, some are reacting better than others, but we come with a positive energy, very passionate about supporting. We're not here to, you know, trash the industry at all. We're just here to provide education so that, you know, ultimately the kids, you know, at the end of this, and they're the ones we want to provide this holistic journey where they're, you know, happy parents, happy child, right? Happy mummy, happy child. So ultimately, you know, if we can improve the how we parent through the journey, the, you know, the outcomes for our kids, irrespective of the footballing destination, I think. Because that can't be controlled, can it? Really, from that point of view. But then there are whole books written. We've talked about this before. There's whole books been written really from a bitter point of view, with some parents whose kids haven't had the best of experiences, although sometimes it's just, to be honest, I think it's just because they didn't get that final selection, and it's a negative, and they paint the picture of the academy world as one that's full of heartbreak. And
through your experience, I know Mars is a great player, is very successful, but nevertheless you have seen lots of parents who haven't had whose kids haven't had as successful a journey. Is that a fair picture of the academy world? Do you think that it is full of heartbreak?
In my experience, no. And also just to sort of comment on Mars, like his journey is far from begun, really.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
you know, it could go any way. I mean,
Yeah.
I've obviously backed my child, but who knows? But I think you've got to take it for what it is, and everyone's different. So my experience is that I've embraced the fact that this is a commitment rather than sacrifice. And by taking that attitude, I feel like I've been able to just relax.
Right.
You know, I kind of, my expectations were managed from the day we went there. It's like,
right.
go there. I used to call it a posh youth club, right? Free training, great. Enjoy it. He loves being around other kids. So the experience, you know, myself and his dad have really been able to embrace the opportunity.
Yeah.
But not everyone is in a position maybe to go on, you know, on tours, for example. And
yeah.
that in itself is a great
experience. Yeah.
You know, there's been my work-life balance has had to change, and not everyone's in a position to change that. So that can cause stress and anxiety. But it's something that we have to deal with, and it's a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah.
You know, we want our kids to take advantage of these opportunities, but ultimately we are the gatekeepers to what we do.
Yeah.
And you know, I think if we can be better at communicating and being communicated to as well, I think it's a you know, a two-way thing, then those relationships will be enriched, and we'll have a, you know, better foresight as to.
So imagine then that there's a parent out there whose kid is on the brink of joining an academy. You know, it's being scouted for an academy, and they're just at the beginning of their academy journey. They could be really young, or they could be any age that they come across, and they're wondering what this journey is going to be like. We know it's a big commitment from parents, isn't it? So what would you say to them where that's concerned?
Yeah, I think find out as much about where you're going as possible, where you intend to go, because not everyone has a choice of, you know, going to multiple academies. So you may only have one, and I think, you know, finding out more about where you're going, the culture, you know, turnover of coaches, that's also a telltale sign of the environment. Maybe talk to other parents, possibly in age groups, you know, above the one that you're going to, but also make sure that you can facilitate the, you know, the logistics and the cost.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot, and I think whilst we'll do as much as we can to, you know, allow our kids to have those opportunities, it can only be sustainable if we're in a position to do that. So I think be realistic about what you can manage, and not be afraid to necessarily hold back if it's not for now.
Right, and that's tough though, isn't it? Because we know, I'm sure when Miles was younger, probably 3 nights a week, maybe Saturdays and Sundays, or maybe just the games on Sundays, clubs organise it differently, but either way, a lot of contact time. So just getting them there, as you say, just those logistics, how to get them to training and bring them back on school nights. If you've got other kids as well, you know, there's all those issues. It's a lot to bear in mind, but it's tough for a parent then to sort of say, oh well, you know, okay, we won't do it then, because the kids wound up in it then, aren't they? You know, and they're on that journey already.
I think Chris as well. I think if you can understand, like, if you want to try it or go into it, know the procedures as well before you go in. If it doesn't work out, what happens? I think you can ask those questions in a club as well.
And of course, one of the issues is it's very difficult to get that information, which of course your website provides.
The platform,
absolutely.
It's all there.
We can say I've talked to other parents, you might not know any others, or you might not get to see them, you might not know what the procedures are, but they can come through the website and get that.
Absolutely. www.No.1fan.club.
No.1Fan.club. Excellent.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Marcia.
Thank you. The support is always welcome.
Thank you.